In this lesson, we're going to work on a quick project to review both text wraps and anchored objects. If you'd like to follow along, go under your File menu to Open, and in the Working Files folder, go into Chapter number 9 and select Using Text and Objects in a Layout, and just click Open. We're going to start by adding text wraps to a couple of objects in this layout. But before we begin, go to your Zoom tool and click and drag from the left-hand side of the page across the top to the far right side of the first column on the second page and let go. I'm going to go to my selection tool and select my horizontal landscape in my first major column and open my text wrap panel if it's not already open and apply a jump object wrap, and the text is now jumping the object. Let me go to my third column and select this square photo in the first column on the second page. And I'm going to apply a wrap around bounding box wrap. And why don't we just use the settings that are already here for offset. Now, why don't we anchor some objects? We'll scroll back across onto our left-hand page. I'm going to select this square image of the young lady in that first narrow column. I'm going to go to the blue box in the upper right-hand corner of my graphic frame and just drag it to an insert point. Now, I'm going to scroll down my page a little bit. And why don't we anchor this object? But before we do, why don't we offset the text a little bit further away from this wrap object? I'm going to click the up arrow for top offset a couple of times, and also the up arrow for the bottom offset a couple of times. Let me just drag this down a little bit. Perfect. Now, I want to take my caption for this photo and just line it up to the top of the image and let go. And why don't we anchor both of these objects? I'm going to click on the blue square in my horizontal landscape and drag to an insert point at the end of the paragraph above. And I want to do the same thing with the caption because I want them to move together as a unit. So I'm going to click on that blue square and drag it to the end of that paragraph above. I can tell this is getting anchored because there is an anchor icon, but I can't tell by just looking at it where it is anchored in the text. So let me turn on those text threads in order to be able to see what's going on. I'm going to go under my View menu to Extras, Show Text Threads. And you can see when I select each one of these objects, it lets me know exactly where it's anchored. Let me just scroll over a little bit to find my square image in that first column on the right-hand page. And I'm going to click and drag from the blue square in the image to the top of the first line. And looks like it's anchored there perfectly, but why don't we try all of this out, see if it really is working. I'm going to go to this paragraph, the beginning of the second paragraph, and just get an insert point and add a return, and let's see what happens. And it looks like everything is moving down with the text. So it's working exactly the way we want it. Let me just hit delete to get rid of that extra return, and everything moved back up. So it's working really well. There's one more image in the narrow column to the right side of the right-hand page. I'm just going to go to my selection tool and click and drag the image up just a bit to line up nicely with this red subhead. And I'm going to click on the blue square and drag to an insert point in the paragraph before. And there it is. It worked. Now, if we had created all of these anchored objects using the old traditional cut and paste to an insert point method, this lesson would have taken at least 2 to 3 times as long. So the newer method of dragging from the blue square in the upper right-hand corner of the object you wish to anchor is a lot faster. In the next lesson, we're going to begin discussing long document features.